In a small, peaceful village by the wide and flowing Nile River, there lived a young man named Musa. His village was simple, but full of life. There were tall trees with birds singing happily, cows grazing in the green fields, and children laughing and playing in the dusty streets. The villagers were friendly, always helping one another, but they didn't have much. They lived in small houses made of mud, and many of them struggled to get enough food. Musa's family was among the poorest in the village. They didn't have much to eat, and the clothes they wore were plain and simple, made from rough cloth. Musa's shoes were old and thin, and the soles were so worn that he could feel every sharp stone he stepped on. But despite all this, Musa never complained. He loved his family, and he worked hard to help them. His parents were good, kind people who always tried to make the best of what they had. Every morning, while the sky was still dark, Musa would wake up and get ready for the long day ahead. The sun had not yet risen, and the air was cool and fresh. He would help his mother, a strong woman with dark eyes and a kind smile, carry water from the river to their home. The water was heavy, but Musa didn't mind. He was strong and quick, and he always made sure his mother had enough water for cooking, washing, and drinking. Once the water was safely inside the house, Musa would join his father in the fields. His father was an older man with a strong back, and they worked together to plant seeds in the soil. The work was hard, and Musa's hands became rough and sore, but he didn't stop. He dreamed of a better life, one where he wouldn't have to work so hard. He dreamed of a life where he could make money, live in a big house, and wear nice clothes. He dreamed of the great city of Cairo. Sometimes, when the work was done for the day, Musa would sit by the river. The water sparkled in the evening light, and he would watch the fish swim by. As he sat there, he would dream of a big city far away. He imagined tall buildings, busy streets full of people, and shops with everything a person could ever want. In his dreams, Musa could see himself wearing fine clothes, eating delicious food every day, and living in a beautiful house. At night, when Musa lay on his small bed, he closed his eyes and thought about his dream. He imagined waking up in a grand city like Cairo, no longer a poor boy from the village. He saw himself as a rich man, surrounded by beautiful things, with people admiring him. His heart would race with excitement, and he would smile, knowing that one day he would make his dream come true. One morning, while walking by the river, Musa saw his old friend Abdullah sitting on a rock. Abdullah was older than Musa. He had a kind face with a long gray beard, and he always seemed to know just what to say. Abdullah had traveled to many places, even to Cairo. Musa admired him for his wisdom and the stories he would tell. Today, Musa felt like sharing his dream with his friend. "Abdullah," Musa said, his voice full of excitement. I want to go to Cairo. I want to leave the village and make money. I want to wear nice clothes, live in a big house, and eat good food every day. I want a better life. I know that Cairo is the place where I can make my dreams come true. Abdullah looked at Musa, his eyes thoughtful. He smiled gently and patted the ground next to him, inviting Musa to sit. After a long pause, he spoke in his calm, wise voice. Musa, I understand your dreams. We all want a better life, but remember, success doesn't come easily. It takes time, patience, and hard work. You must be careful with your choices. Never forget that great things are built, step by step. Musa listened to Abdullah's words, but his heart was already set on the idea of going to Cairo. He could not stop thinking about the big city, its busy markets, and all the things he could buy. He wanted to leave the village behind and start fresh. Abdullah, seeing the determination in his friend's eyes, reached behind him and pulled out a large woven basket. He handed it to Musa, and when Musa looked inside, his eyes widened in surprise. The basket was full of fresh eggs, neatly packed so they wouldn't break. These eggs are a gift for you, Musa, Abdullah said with a smile. Take them to Cairo. Sell them at the market. Use the money to start your journey. But remember, you must use the money wisely. This is just the beginning of your path. Musa's face lit up with joy. He was grateful for the gift, and his heart swelled with hope. This basket of eggs felt like the key to his future. He hugged it close to his chest, thanking Abdullah again and again. I will be careful, Abdullah, Musa promised. I will use the money wisely and make my dreams come true. Abdullah nodded. Good luck, Musa. I believe in you. But remember, it's not the fast road to success that matters. It's the journey. With that, Musa set off toward Cairo, excited about the future and filled with the hope of new beginnings. The next morning, Musa woke up early, ready to start his journey. He packed a small bag with the few things he owned: a piece of bread, a small flask of water, and his worn clothes. As he looked at himself in the water, he imagined what it would be like to wear beautiful clothes and live in a grand house. He could almost see it in his mind, and his heart raced with excitement. He carefully placed the basket of eggs on his shoulder and walked to the river, where a boat was waiting to take him toward Cairo. The boat was simple but sturdy, just big enough for Musa and a few other passengers who were also making their way to the city. There were old women with baskets, children with bright eyes, and other travelers. But Musa's focus was only on the journey ahead. As he climbed aboard, he held the basket close to him, making sure it was safe. The boat began to move, and Musa felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Soon, he thought, he would be in Cairo. He would sell the eggs and begin his new life. The future seemed so close. The boat drifted down the river, and Musa started talking to the other passengers. He couldn't help but share his dreams with them. "I'm going to Cairo," he said, his voice full of hope. "I'm going to sell these eggs and buy beautiful clothes. I will live in a big house and eat good food every day. Maybe I will even have servants." The other passengers smiled at him, some of them chuckling at his big dreams. But Musa didn't notice. He was too caught up in his excitement. He kept talking, telling everyone his plans. He didn't see the danger in his enthusiasm, how it might lead him to forget the carefulness he needed to take with the eggs. As the boat rocked gently on the water, Musa leaned forward, his hands moving with excitement as he spoke. He didn't notice that he had shifted too far, or that his foot had brushed against the basket. With a sudden movement, the basket tipped over the edge of the boat. Time seemed to slow down. Musa's heart stopped as he watched the basket of eggs fall into the water. The eggs splashed into the river, one by one, floating for a brief moment before sinking beneath the surface. Musa stared, unable to believe what he had done. His heart sank with the eggs, and all of his hopes seemed to vanish in the water. The other passengers watched in silence, and some of them murmured softly, offering their sympathy. But Musa could only sit there, feeling as though the ground had slipped from beneath him. Musa sat on the boat, staring into the water, his heart heavy with grief. His hands were empty, and his mind raced as he tried to process what had just happened. The basket of eggs was gone. His hopes for a better life, his dreams of Cairo, seemed to disappear along with the eggs. The boat rocked gently, but Musa didn't notice. His eyes were fixed on the spot where the eggs had fallen, now lost in the dark water. His dreams had slipped away, like the eggs sinking beneath the surface. He had been so careless. How could he have let this happen? He had been so excited about the future, so sure that the money from the eggs would be his way out. But now, he had nothing. The other passengers on the boat saw Musa's sorrow and offered him kind words. "Don't worry," one old woman said, her voice soft and comforting. "Sometimes life takes things from us, but don't let it steal your spirit." But Musa couldn't hear her. His heart was too full of sadness, and all he could think about was the loss of his chance. He had been given such a great opportunity, and now it was gone. What was he going to do? How could he continue on his journey without money, without the eggs to sell? Musa looked up at the sky, which had turned gray and cloudy. The wind picked up, and he shivered slightly. But it wasn't the cold that bothered him. It was the feeling of failure of disappointment. His dreams of Cairo seemed so far away now, like a distant memory. As the boat continued its journey down the river, Musa sat quietly, lost in his thoughts. The excitement he had felt earlier was gone, replaced by regret. He had been so eager to start his new life that he hadn't listened to Abdullah's advice. He had rushed without thinking, and now he had lost everything. The boat finally reached the shore, but Musa hardly noticed. He stepped off the boat, his legs heavy, his heart even heavier. The city of Cairo was still far away, but Musa had no money now to continue. The basket of eggs was gone, and with it, his hopes of a better life. Musa began to walk, but the weight of his mistake slowed his steps. He thought about Abdullah's words again. Success takes time. Patience is important. Musa had been so focused on reaching his dream quickly that he hadn't stopped to think about the journey. He hadn't been patient or careful. He had been too excited, too eager to change his life, and in the process, he had lost everything. As Musa walked along the road, he passed other travelers, some young, some old. They were all on their own journeys, each carrying their own hopes and dreams. Some of them smiled at him, while others kept to themselves. But Musa didn't feel like talking. He was ashamed of what had happened. He kept walking, the sun beginning to set in the distance. The light was soft, and the world around him seemed peaceful, but inside, Musa felt torn. He thought about how much he had wanted to change his life, how he had dreamed of wearing fine clothes and living in a big house. But now, those dreams seemed foolish. As the night began to fall, Musa found a quiet place to rest. He sat on a rock, staring at the ground. His mind was full of thoughts, but the one that kept coming back was the mistake he had made. He had been so careless. If only he had listened to Abdullah's advice. After a long time, Musa closed his eyes and tried to sleep. But sleep didn't come easily. His dreams were filled with images of the basket of eggs floating away in the river. When he woke up the next morning, he felt even more tired and sad than before. Now, from this point, the story will be continued in the next part.